This is Wedding DJ School, your guide to the business of a wedding DJ. We're talking with leaders in the wedding entertainment industry. You're going to hear their backstories, how they got started, and where they are today. Hey everybody, I'm so excited about today's episode, but before we get to that, I want to let you know there are 2 more episodes left in Season 2, then we will take a break and prepare for Season 3. So if you have any questions or topics or anything you want to suggest, record a voice memo on your phone and then email it to josh@weddingdjschool.com. If it's your first time with us today, welcome. Stick around till the end of the episode to learn how you can get all of the free action guides from Season 1 of the podcast. Today's guest is Rob Ferre. He's a DJ and MC. He owns Life of the Party Entertainment based in Utah. But his DJ journey actually began in Orlando, Florida, where he was an interactive DJ for Walt Disney World Resort, Universal Studios, and SeaWorld. He was also a full-time DJ and show host for Nickelodeon Family Suites. He used those foundational experiences to build a great entertainment company in Utah. So today you're going to hear how he got there. You're going to hear how he built his business, how he serves his clients, and the journey that he's been on to get to where he is today.
My name's Rob Ferre. I am a DJ, entertainer, game show host out of Salt Lake City, Utah. And I've been in business roughly 13 years. I moved back to Utah from Orlando, Florida in November of 2006. So that was 13 years ago. And I started my business in 2007, January 2007. So I'll be celebrating 13 years here in Utah. I am originally from Utah, but after college, I moved to Orlando, Florida to pursue something. I don't know what it was, entertainment, something of that nature. And I wanted to go out there and I thought it would be a good idea to go work for Mickey Mouse. And so when I got out there, my hopes were completely dashed when I got a job working at the parking lot at MGM Studios. And so things were kind of down for a little bit, but then I met a guy, his name's Elliot Hansen, aka DJ Elliot, and he saw me perform at a talent show. And he recruited me shortly after that to be a part of his DJ company. And he mentored me and he took me under his wing and taught me a lot of the interactive DJ ways. And I didn't know this was possible. And so I cut my teeth as a theme park DJ. So I never DJ'd in clubs or did bar mitzvahs or did school events. I started DJing in theme parks with Elliot Hansen, and Elliot taught me a lot of cool things and the interactive ways. And so that is the basis for what I do. And we worked at Disney, we worked at Universal Studios, primarily at Universal Studios. I did DJing. I worked inside the theme parks DJing while people were at the rides. People would wait for the ride Men in Black. And while they waited, I would DJ for them. And then I also got a job over at the Nickelodeon Studios not at the studios. They had closed, but they had opened up a hotel, a Holiday Inn was a Nickelodeon themed hotel. And that's where I also was a DJ there. And I was a game show host there. So that's kind of where I got most of my training. And then I came back to Utah and I started my business, and that's where we are today.
So tell me a little bit more about your key learnings when you were in the theme park. You mentioned the kind of interactive element. What were some of the things that were kind of either blowing your mind or just, wow, I didn't realize that I could do this? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, if you have never been underneath another person or seen what an interactive show could be, that's what was opened my eyes to, was a full-blown interactive show. Instead of just, I'm coming here to DJ and I'm gonna, maybe I'll teach the Macarena and we'll do a hula hoop contest, and that sounds good. I learned that you could do a full show from beginning to end, and that's what was really the basis for what I do when I do kids events and community events. I look at it as a show. We start at 7 o'clock. We're done at 8:30. It's an hour and a half. It's a set. And I have everything planned out, the beats, the moments, the songs. And so that is what I created with Elliot, and he showed me that. And we would do a 3-hour dance party at downtown Disney, outside of World of Disney. It is now called Disney Springs, but we were on the dock stage and we would do this show. It was an hour, it was a 3-hour show, but we would reset about an hour and a half into it because we knew we had generated a crowd and we started over again, but not completely over. And what we would usually start with was either, a hula hoop contest or some sort of dance contest to draw in some kids. And then we would just do this whole interactive show. So that's kind of been the basis for what I do today. Also, when I worked in Universal, we would do an interactive type game show where I would do Name That Tune and do TV theme songs. And that's the basis for what I do today as a game show host. And so a lot of the stuff goes back to those days when I was living in Orlando. And I always tell people that I got my MFE, Masters of Family Entertainment. And that's where I cut my teeth as a DJ, as a game show host, as an entertainer in Orlando, Florida.
Fantastic. So even before 2007, what attracted you to like did you know that this was something that you were going to go into? Did you have things prior to college or in high school or anything like that were indicators that this might be a path that you're thinking of?
Yeah. So DJs, entertainers, performers all have different backgrounds. I consider myself an entertainer. Some DJs, they love the music, or they were in a band, they're drummers, they know music, they know music theory, they know these type of things, or they just happen by accident. What are all these different factors that go into people's DJ careers? For me, I was an entertainer. I always performed throughout high school, elementary school. I did theater, I did school plays, things like that. I was always at the dances, and I enjoyed being in front of a crowd, in front of an audience, entertaining people. So that was a big passion for me. So that's kind of my background there. And I started DJing at the AAA affiliate here in Salt Lake City baseball. So I was the stadium DJ in AAA baseball. So that was like my first taste of DJing, and I thought it was a lot of fun playing music, being in a stadium with the crowd. And then I went to college and I decided to minor in theater, which I dropped later on, but I majored in broadcast communications. And I knew I wanted to be on TV in front of an audience and do something like that. And so that's what broadcast did for me. So I was able to do radio DJing, which I consider something completely different than mobile DJing events, things like that nature. But I cut my teeth doing that, DJing on the radio, and that was a lot of fun, and TV. And so once I got to Orlando, I knew I wanted to do something in entertainment. I did not want to be in TV news. I had a bad experience where I had to cover a murder, and that was something I never wanted to do again. So I have a college degree and I'm trying to figure out what's the next step. What am I going to do? So then I moved to Orlando and those possibilities opened up to me. And then I moved back to Utah and I started my business. But at the same time, I was looking for a job. Like, I have this college degree. I need to do something with it. I have to have a respectable job that goes from 9 to 5 that can give me benefits. And maybe a girl will think that's respectable. Nothing ever took. I dabbled in other broadcast jobs. Nothing worked. I also dabbled as a substitute teacher. I thought maybe I'll teach. That will be good. But eventually, 3 or 4 years living here in Salt Lake City, I just said, this is my job. I'm a full-time DJ, and I didn't have a family to care for at that time. And so I was able to build my business, being a single person, and it really worked. And I didn't have that stress of having to have a secondary job. So I had that luxury. And so I was able to build my business, and I said, this is it. This is what I'm doing.
At what point did weddings come into the picture for you?
Weddings came into the picture at the very beginning. When I lived in Orlando, I did maybe 3 weddings, and I had never done a wedding. And nobody ever taught me about weddings. Like, I never got mentored by anybody for weddings. I kind of just learned it as I went. So I did 3 weddings in Orlando for friends. And then I came back to Utah and I said, haha, what's the biggest thing that's going on in Utah. People getting married. There's tons of young people getting married. And I quickly found out that here in Utah, those people that are getting married, all these young couples, don't have large budgets. They are young, like 22, 21, 23. A lot of the predominant faith here, people part of the predominant faith, which is Latter-day Saint or Mormonism, and a lot of them are part of bigger families, and they get married in churches, and they don't have these extravagant budgets. And so I quickly learned, like, okay, this is probably not my ideal client. But throughout the time, I was able to kind of start getting connected to venues and to wedding planners and being in front of the right people who could start referring me to their clients. And now most of the weddings that I do are for destination clients who are from out of town that come to Utah to either live here and bring their family in, or they're coming in from out of town and doing events here. And you're probably thinking to yourself, Utah is a destination? Well, if you've ever been to the mountains of the Wasatch up in Park City, it's beautiful. A lot of people come here, they go skiing, they come here during Sundance, and it's a great destination for that. So don't overlook Utah, and it's a great destination with a majestic mountain backdrop. And so a lot of people come down for that, and I do a lot of destination weddings. And so weddings are a big part of my business, but now I'm shifting more towards corporate, which I'd like to do more of. I don't want to abandon weddings altogether, but I want to do more corporate work for sure.
I want to go back to something you talked about just a minute ago of kind of the 9-to-5 thing wasn't for you. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, I think I just kept fighting that I needed to have another job. And I think sometimes we learn that from other people, like girls I was dating, like, well, could you support a family as a DJ, And you always get that comment like, oh, you're a DJ, so you can make that work. And at that point, I want to kick them in the pants and just say, come on, it's so demeaning. And sometimes we undervalue what we do. And so if you're familiar with Mark Ferre, he spoke at a mobile DJ conference. It was the second year I went to, I think it was the second or third year I went to Mobile Beat in Las Vegas, and he spoke about the value of what we do as DJs and the entertainment that we bring. And I eventually kind of got that into my head, like, this is something that I want to do. You talk to so many people who are miserable at their jobs or they don't love what they do. And so I wanted to pursue what I love doing, is entertaining audiences. DJing is a vehicle for that. Being in front of audiences. And that's why I also do game shows. That's why I'm a keynote speaker. I do a whole variety of things to be in front of audiences to entertain people. And so that is one way to go about it. And so there's different models too for DJing. I eventually started getting my first DJs that I started training under my umbrella. I don't have any employees. The DJs that work for me are subcontractors, but a lot of them I've trained from the ground up. And a lot of them have approached me and they said, hey, I want to do what you do. This looks like a lot of fun. I want to make some money on the weekends. And so once I started having other people approach me and they wanted to learn, I was able to start mentoring and figuring out how to make it work. It was a gradual process, but I think if this is something that you want to do full time, find a way to make it work. And there's many different models to make money as a DJ, as an entertainer, as a solo op, as a multi-op, or as a subcontractor, somebody that represents talent. And that's what I do. I represent talent here in Utah under my brand, which is called Life of the Party. And then I have my own brand, Rob Ferre. So I have multiple, and I have 3 websites. I have djrobutah.com, which is my kids events. And so I don't plan on doing like kids events outside of Utah. So the Utah thing is, so it's primarily for assemblies, school events. And then Life of the Party is the weddings, the corporate events. And then Rob Ferre is everything that I do as a speaker, as a game show host, as an MC. So I have 3 different brands, and I'm able to cater to those different things.
When you mentioned that you moved back to Utah and around 2007, was that right? And you say you started your business. What were some of those things? And now, as you kind of have these 3 separate brands and you've got subcontractors under you, I can imagine somebody on the front part of their journey right now, they're kind of thinking, okay, start a business. What does that mean? What was going through your mind, or who did you look to? What kind of things were you doing to kind of set that foundation so that you could grow a business?
So first thing I'm going to tell you, if anybody is starting a business or they're couple years in, a year in, have the end in mind. Know where you're going, know what you want to do, know what your goals are. Also, the name of your business is very, very important. If you are so-and-so entertainment, like your name, like Joe Smith Entertainment, that means it's just you. Do you want to grow beyond that? And so I'm really happy that I chose Life of the Party as a brand, as it's not just me, it's going to be these other people that represent me. So that's like the first thing. It's like figure out your name, your brand, your website. I think those are the biggest steps. Also, make sure you're licensed. And I always, people don't realize like, oh yeah, no, I just do this on the side. It's like you are a business. Think of yourself as a business, as an entrepreneur, as somebody that is going out and providing a service. That's what we do. It's not just a gig. It's not just a side thing. And even if you're just doing clubs, you're still a business. You're creating money. You're generating income. So that is the first step I think you should do, is know the end in mind. Second step is finding a mentor. That was one of the most important things for me. And for me, it kind of happened organically. But when I first came to Utah, I found a company that was looking for DJs for them to come work for them. And so they were subcontractors. And the best thing I did for myself was that summer I worked for this company and I learned how not to run a DJ business. It was so poorly run. It was so poorly managed. I learned so many things that I do not want to repeat with other DJs or people that worked for me. And that person who hired me never set me up to succeed. They said, here's the information, go. See ya. Best of luck. And so I think that's really important for me, is to have somebody that will set you up to succeed. And so that was really important for me. And then I met another guy through the American Disc Jockey Association. His name is Paul Helms. And he took me under his wing and he mentored me. He subcontracted me too. And then I learned, I'm like, oh, there's a difference. Company A, which I will not name, and Paul. Paul was a great mentor to me, and he's still a dear friend until this day. I DJ'd his wedding. Like, I've DJ'd like maybe 5 DJs' weddings here in Utah. And I think it's an honor for them to like say, hey, come DJ my wedding. But I think that's the most important thing, is finding a mentor, somebody who's done it before, and somebody that you can collaborate with. Paul and I did multiple bar mitzvahs together. I was able to learn his style, and we were able to learn from each other. And I think that's really important, is learning from somebody else, seeing how they do it. And here's the other thing, is don't burn bridges. I hear that so many times, is when DJs burn bridges or they take a higher paying gig when they've already committed to another one. Have integrity. Commit to what you have done. Burning a bridge where a source of revenue could come back over and over again is never worth it for that higher paying gig. You may lose $600 on that Friday night or whatever, but it may come back. You never know. But it was a great opportunity. And then the third thing I would tell people is to start networking. I didn't know what networking was. I didn't know it was a thing until I got invited to a networking event for wedding vendors. And it was called Women in Weddings and Some Guys Too. And I got this email and I was like, what is this event? I don't even know what this is. And I went to it, and sure enough, it was a bunch of women and like 2 or 3 guys. But that was my first networking event. And I was religious about it. I went to this event. It was like a quarterly event, or they did it maybe twice a year. I can't remember. But I started to volunteer, and I started offering my services. Can I play the music? Can I MC? Can I do this? And then I got in front of all these people who started seeing what I could do. I started getting on the referral list, and the rest is history. So it is always my goal to be a part of an association. The American Disc Jockey Association introduced me to Paul Helms. And now I'm part of WIPA, which is the Wedding International Professionals Association. And we just did the gala a couple of weeks ago where I emceed and I DJ'd that event. And so I'm always constantly in front of these people, top of mind, networking, schmoozing, whatever it may be, but creating authentic relationships and friendships, because we always like to work with people we know, like, and trust. So be that person that people like, know, and trust.
Yeah, and I just have to say, for anyone who's not familiar with your platform and kind of your work that's out there, I've just noticed, you've been very intentional about, appearances on TV, different podcasts.
Yes.
Tell me about what is going through your mind when you're looking for those kinds of opportunities?
Yeah, podcasts kind of happen organically, but I think you can be intentional about it. I have been on the PhDJ podcast, if you're familiar with that, and I'm friends with Joe and Mike, and I said, I need to be on your podcast. And then Joe says, yeah, you do. And so Joe's always cool about that. He's open to it. But that's the thing is, you don't know until you ask. The worst they could say is, no, not at this time. But that's what happened to me with Wedding Wire. I met, I saw Jason Janai. He was DJing, the Wedding Wire events. And I said to him, can you give me an introduction? He said, yes. And Jason Janai gave me the introduction. And I asked them, I said, can I MC your events? And they gave me 2 events that I was able to MC. And I've also spoken for them. But I just asked. And that's what I did. And so you don't know until you ask. And I think there was another point in there. There was another question.
TV appearances.
TV appearances, thank you. And so with the TV appearances, I actually took a workshop here in Utah with another friend who's in the speaking business. Another association that I'm a part of is called the National Speakers Association. I'm part of 3 associations. I probably should be a part of a chamber right now, but I'm not. Another thing, side note, chambers, they're really important. It's a great way to network with people who are in businesses. And so I've done a lot of networking outside of that. But I'm part of the National Speakers Association, and a fellow speaker, she runs a workshop. And in her workshop, she taught us how to get TV appearances. And so I learned that strategy and I applied it right away. And here's the thing about it is, like, can I track the money I've made from TV appearances? Not really, but I'm able to get footage. I'm able to get, expand my brand, be on TV, use that platform just to kind of extend what I do. Maybe let people think I'm a quote unquote big deal, which I'm not. But here's the great thing is, when you do these podcasts, you do these TV appearances, what are you doing? You are giving value instead of like saying it's all about me. I know we've talked about me, but my hope is everybody that is listening to this podcast is getting value and getting ideas. And it is always my goal to give back. Because believe it or not, I can't do all the gigs. And here's the other thing is, I have booked 3 game shows, not 3 game shows, but game shows and speaking events this last year from other DJs nationally. Locally, I get referrals all the time, but nationally, I've been able to get referrals from other DJs, which is amazing. And so I'm able to kind of heighten my profile and let people know what I like to do. And so I have been very intentional with what I put out on social media and out into the universe. You don't see me spouting off about the wall, Trump, immigration, whatever, the controversial thing that is in the universe right now. Like, I don't care. Actually, I do care about those things. I care immensely about those things. But I don't want to get in a spat on Facebook with a bunch of DJs arguing their point. It serves nobody. I'm never going to change anybody's mind. So what I put out into the universe is stuff that I want to be known for. And so I say, I am here doing this event. I am in Iowa speaking to John Deere. I am doing a game show tonight. I am doing so-and-so's wedding. And so it's the same thing with media appearances. This is a great opportunity to share, give value without ever seeing a return. I'm not trying to sell myself on your podcast right now. Like, well, you can learn more about my training program at robferre.com. If you want to be mentored by me, Rob Ferre, go. The people that I've mentored, they've just asked. I don't advertise it. I don't say, hey, I have a coaching program. I have a this. But I think we all have different avenues. But the most important thing is giving value. I've also spoken, Joe Bunn has what is called The Vault. If you're not familiar with The Vault, where have you been? But I've been on The Vault, and I've been able to give value there. I know people have to pay for that. But Joe, I didn't ask Joe. I'm like, hey, Joe, can I get some, how much am I getting paid for this? But now I have that quote unquote notoriety, we could say, but people now know me as an MC. They're like, okay, when I think of an MC, I think of Rob. When I think of game shows, I think of Rob. When I think of kids events, I wish I was known for other things, but these are some of the things that I'm known for. And that's what I'm putting out into the universe. So that's with media appearances, podcasts, also the written word. I do a lot of writing for the Disc Jockey News. I write for the Disc Jockey News. I also write for Pro Mobile magazine in the UK, and that has actually turned into a speaking engagement for their conference this year. And so I'm constantly trying to give value, and it eventually comes back. Maybe in the back of my head, this is a strategy that I can do to put myself out there. But never am I saying, like, I'm writing this thing, I'm doing this podcast, doing this TV appearance so I can make money. No, it's just to increase brand awareness. Brand awareness. We are just putting ourselves out there so we are known for these things, top of mind. A college friend that I haven't seen in 15 years just hit me up on Facebook and said, hey, give me your email address. I saw your name on the preferred vendor list. We need a DJ for this event. We'd love to hire you. That's what you do. And then you make those connections on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, comment, like, be a positive influence. That's what you do. That's kind of been my strategy. About 4 or 5 years ago, it shifted for me. I used to be that guy who would get in political fights until I got in a fight with a friend of mine. And I was like, you know what? I like you as a person. I don't like you on Facebook, but I like you on person. And the thing is, I don't want to continue this vitriol. So I just quit. And one of those days when I was fighting on Facebook, I come out of the office and my wife looks at me and she just looks at my face. She's like, was somebody wrong on the internet again? And I just had to laugh. And I was just like, you know what? It's silly. It's stupid. And so we're getting nowhere by arguing about these things on the internet, especially in these DJ forums. Sorry, I'm going on a tangent here, but DJ forums where we're going in, not giving value. We're just putting down the other person. And I always want to be able to give value when I go to a thread. There are some times where I make snarky remarks and I don't give value, but I try not to create, an atmosphere where we're arguing or I'm telling somebody that they're wrong. You want to be able to say, this is how I've done things. This is how I see it. And so, I've created my own forums. One is called the Dapper DJ. And the Dapper DJ is all about DJs dressing better. And like, what is my motive behind it? I just want DJs to look better. Like, I make no money off of this. All I do is share and I say, hey, here's a sale at Express, 50% off. Or, hey, this is the tie I'm wearing. You should be doing this. Let's talk about this. And then I also have another forum, which is my kids and family event DJ forum. And that's a really great forum. I think we're up to around 600. It's not super robust, but I don't want it to be just a forum for everybody. But it's a really good atmosphere, and people follow your lead. in those forums, and we collaborate. I put down playlists, hey, here's my Halloween playlist. This is great stuff. This is what I'm using for Halloween. These are the hula hoops I'm buying. This is the latest song on TikTok, so we're constantly sharing in that space, and there's a lot of good friends in there. And so that's what we need to do, is just collaborate and give value.
I think that's so important, and kind of that idea of your vibe attracts your tribe is so true. Of what kind of vibe are you giving off? Because that's the kind of people that are gonna connect with you, and even down to your clients and the people that want to work with you. You can attract better clients by having a better vibe. So I love everything you're saying, and this kind of leads into my next question. I kind of want to talk about resilience and sustained enthusiasm, and how do you stay enthusiastic? How do you stay happy? Or when you're at an event and you're putting on the show, how are you able kind of internally to motivate yourself, even if you're having a bad day or you were in an argument maybe on Facebook earlier that day? Like, how does a person refocus themselves in the performance mindset to be able to deliver the enthusiasm and professionalism that's really going to help them stand out?
I'm going to tell you a couple of different things. I'm an optimistic person by heart, but I'm also an angry person. If you get on my bad side, I snap. It's really scary. Like on the basketball court, I'm a jerk. In traffic, I'm a jerk. But in person, I'm a fairly nice person. But I do have my mean streaks, and I think we need to recognize that and know when we're getting to that point where we are like, I'm done, I can't do this, whatever. Don't let it show on your face. But I think it was 4 years ago, 4 or 3 years ago, I had 2 incidents in the same summer, where one was at a wedding and one was at a corporate event, where I turned off the music and I started getting angry at the people that were there. Like, there was this bridesmaid at this wedding that I did, and we were playing the last song, and she was constantly berating me throughout the night and telling me certain songs sucked and like, you're not doing it right. And I slammed down my computer, stopped the music, and I started having an argument with her. Like, when people hear this story, like, that is like the worst thing you could ever do. And I did it. Like, me, I did that. But here's the thing, is I have to recognize my trigger points and what happened at that moment. And then the corporate event that I did was even worse. And so I took a training from Todd Mitchum. Todd Mitchum, he does some training. And that's another thing I need to tell people. We're just going to go off on a simple tangent right here. I went to Southern Utah University, and their mantra is, learning lives forever. And I have done that. I have taken countless workshops from many different people within the DJ and entertainment industry. All started with Mark Farrell with Marbecca. I've taken the entertainment experience from Bill Herman. I have taken Randy Bartlett's mic class, and I have done a variety of workshops. And I always want to learn from other people. I think the people who naturally gifted, they don't often take those workshops. But I think learning, educating yourself, networking, going to conferences, you don't know what you don't know. And I know a lot of people get a lot of their education off of YouTube. But that human contact, those conversations, being able to see somebody do it, will open your eyes and open your perspective. So back to Todd Mitchum, I took his workshop and he was able to give me some perspective. It was at the right time. And I got very vulnerable with our workshop attendees, and I told them these stories. And they were all flabbergasted. They had their hands on their head. They're like, I can't believe you did that. But what Todd taught me at that workshop was like, basically it's not about you, but he was talking about, don't assume that they want you to fail. Don't assume that this person who's giving you these requests and these things, that they hate you or this. And he gave me this perspective about, it's not about you. Don't assume that they are doing this to circumvent your entertainment. And that really helped me. And he also said, take a moment to step outside of yourself, look at what everybody else is seeing, and realize that you're being an idiot, that you need to calm down, you need to do this, you know. And so that was very cathartic for me. That workshop was one of the best things I could have done. There are some more lessons with it. He calls it Use It, and I can't remember what Use It stands for. I do apologize for all the people that have taken Todd Mitchen's workshop, but it's called Focus DJ. So focus on what the end goal is. What are you supposed to do? And then also another mentor of mine, his name's Jason Hewlett. He's an entertainer, speaker, and I took his workshop, and that was an amazing workshop, and he's been an amazing mentor. And he speaks on what is called the promise, and that is his corporate keynote. And the promise is something that he lives every day too. And he talks about keeping your promises. Instead of making a goal, make a promise. And I always do that. And so and he has 3 things that you keep your promise to. Promise to your audience. And why I love that. And so your audience could be it could be your clients. It could be the people that you perform for. But for me, this was specific. You always have to keep your promise to your audience. And he says, keep your promise to your family, and also keep the promise to the one. And the one can be whatever it can be. It could be yourself. It could be your God. It could be your wife. It could be that unattainable goal. Whatever that one is, keep your promise. But I've always had that in my head. Okay, what would Jason Hewlett do? You know, keep your promise. Keep your promise to the audience. If I'm performing for 10 people or 1,000 people, 1,000 is 1,000. Anyway, I was just like, math. Anyway, but keep your promise to those audiences. It doesn't matter who is out there, but keep your promise. And, you know, they paid money for you to be a part of this. And so I think you always have to keep that in perspective as who is there, who is listening, and who is your audience. Keep your promise, and remember, it's not about you. It's about your audience.
What ticks you off? What are some things that are pet peeves of yours that DJs do in the way that they run their business, that if you could make a recommendation to somebody on the front end of their journey, don't do this? And you already gave us one with don't dress poorly. But do you have any other pet peeves that you're like, yeah, don't do that?
Well, first off, I've already talked about this. Get off of Facebook and quit wasting your time arguing on Facebook. Quit making yourself the most important person. The biggest problem with the DJ industry, we're dominated by men with egos. But that's what also makes us great, is our drive, our determination to be out in front of an audience. But they let their egos get the best of them sometimes. They waltz into a venue, they waltz into a wedding, they waltz into a thing, and they think that they are the most important person. No, we do. Let's all admit it. We have one of the most important jobs when it comes to a wedding, right? Like, that party would not happen. That ceremony would not be heard without us. Like, we have a very important role, but you got to leave your ego at the door. Be a team player, be a collaborator. Offer value. Be somebody that is there to collaborate. And sometimes things don't go our way. And when they don't go our way, we're not going to be blamed for it. You know, like, it's just like, we did our job. So first things first, put down your ego and start collaborating with people. And it's like you go to a wedding and they're now changing over the room. You know, you got your playlist going, pick up some chairs, move some tables, be a helper, be a collaborator. Be somebody that can go in there and offers value. I think that's the most important. Sometimes we forget that all the time. And I think too many times it's like, yeah, you know, that's not my job. Or DJs get hung up on like, you know, you're not a DJ if you use the sync button. Who cares? The only people that care about that are other DJs, you know? And so we're now arguing about what DJs care about. Care about what your client thinks. So start doing you and do what you do best.
That's great. Yeah, the whole like, hey, pick up the chairs. I remember helping a vendor once light some of the candles that were at some of the tables, and then they started recommending me to all their clients. So it's like it didn't cost me anything. It took about 5 minutes to help light a few candles, and they're like, okay, yeah, we want to
Oh, this
recommend you to
Josh
more
guy's
people.
got something.
People.
Right. That's all you got to do is just think beyond yourself. Be a team player. Be a collaborator.
I love it. What are some of the routines and habits that you do regularly that keep you in the right frame of mind, that keep you successful, that just keep you being able to be you? Any routines or habits that you'd could share with us?
I'm very active on social media, which could also be a detriment, but these are things I'm constantly sharing. I'm constantly trying to, keep myself out there. But like, what am I doing behind the scenes? It's a good question. I think being able to set time aside for your family, travel. I love to play basketball. I love to go skiing. I think sometimes we worry too much about the gigs and the jobs. And I'm now turning away work. I think it's time, that's a very important thing to do, is learn how to say no and learn how to be able to just step aside and step away. I just recently went to China. I'm still reeling from that. I'm trying to pick up all the pieces and being able to get back to people on emails and whatnot. But I think it's really important to be able to do the things that keep you happy. And so learn how to take time for yourself. And so I think that's what I do a lot of on the back end. And people are like, how do you keep the energy? Well, I don't have kids. And so I have that luxury of being able to just to take the next day and just to decompress and take a nap. Like I'm a napper. I nap a lot. So, and not everybody has that luxury, but I think being able just to get yourself centered at times, being able to take a hike, being able to also just hang out with the people that you love. So I think that's really important.
Fantastic. What's a goal that you're working toward right now? Something that you're excited about in the next year or two, or just something that you're planning?
Believe it or not, I'm trying to scale back on DJing. I want to do a little bit less DJing and focus on the DJ jobs that I really want to do. 2019, I did 183 events. It was ridiculous. But that was between DJ, corporate speaking, emceeing. And so one of my goals is to do less work for more money. And so I think that's one of the things is one of my goals is just to do more corporate work. One of the things I'm really looking forward to is going out to the UK in March to keynote at the Pro Mobile conference. I'll also be keynoting at Mobile Beat on Monday. I'm really excited about that. But my goals is to do more speaking, to be able to expand my platform and do that. Pie in the sky stuff is, do more game show, be on a game show, be a game show host. But that's pie in the sky. But I always have that in the back of my head as something that would be a lot of fun to do. So I'm really looking forward to that UK trip and being able just to do more speaking engagements. And I think you asked this question earlier about how do we keep ourselves motivated to keep doing certain things. If you're not evolving, if you're not learning, if you're not doing something new, you're staying stagnant, that is your problem. And so that is what I'm constantly trying to do. I am now 41. I started DJing when I was 25, when I was living in Orlando. And I started my business when I was 28, so I am constantly looking for something new, something different to keep me motivated, to keep me excited. And that's what it is with corporate events. In a perfect world, I would just MC corporate events around the country, around the world. I was able to MC my first international event in Dubai last March, and that was an amazing opportunity. And so these are the things that just keep me excited. But here's the thing is I did an event in Vegas last month or 2 months ago where I was the MC. I got to DJ the after party, and I got to do my game show. And it was just so much fun. And I will never give up DJing, because there are times where I'm just sitting there behind the turntables or the mixer. I don't really have turntables. And I'm gonna be perfectly honest with people with my skills as a DJ. I am never gonna be like, you know what, I'm the best mixer, I'm the scratcher, I'm on this. Like, I'm not the best DJ out there. I just know how to market myself, my brand, and get myself out there. But that's the other thing that I've been really excited about. I went to the DJ Collective a year ago, and I got to hang out with like real DJs. And I was able to like learn from these guys, and I was like, oh, I'm doing it wrong. And so now I'm curating my music, and I'm now getting more excited about music. And so I'm evolving as a DJ. I'm a better mixer. And now the next step is get a little bit of the, some of the transitions and the scratching. I think transitions and scratching go together. And so I need to do that better. And so, but that gets me excited to be able to learn those things and evolve. Always be evolving.
Rob, remind us how we can find you. How can we follow you? How can we stay up to date with what you're up to?
The best way to follow me is on Instagram at Rob Ferre, ROBFERRE. I will tell you, I'm a fun follow. I put out a lot of stories, so you can kind of see what I'm doing. And you can also friend me on Facebook. If you do that, it's at Robert Ferre. But just look me up, Rob Ferre. And then I have a website, robferre.com, and so that's kind of the best ways to kind of reach out. Instagram's the best way. I will always get back to you on Instagram, and that's where I like to play the most, is on Instagram.
Awesome. Well, Rob, thank you so much for spending some time with us. Really appreciate it.
You are great, Josh. Thank you for letting me be a part of this amazing podcast. I appreciate it. It's been an honor, and maybe we'll do it again. Who knows? Thanks, Rob.
I love the closing accent. It's perfect.
I don't know why I went into some weird accent.
It was great.
I want to thank you so much for being a listener of Wedding DJ School. You can find us over at WEDDINGDJSchool.com. Also, you can text Wedding DJ to 44222. We will ask for your email address, and in return, we will send you all of the podcast action guides for season 1 of Wedding DJ School. So you can do that for free just by texting Wedding DJ to 44222. Lots of actionable advice that you can put to use right away, all for free. Well, we're going to continue talking with leaders in the wedding entertainment industry. We will be back next week with a new episode.